You ever wonder what real justice looks like? Not the kind you see in movies, not some neat courtroom drama where the bad guys get cuffed and everything's tied up in a bow. I'm talking about the kind of justice that shakes a whole city, cracks open secrets you thought would stay buried forever. The kind that starts with an old woman in a faded purple sweater and ends with a thunderstorm nobody saw coming. I was there the day it all began, right outside the federal courthouse, so, yeah, buckle in. Evelyn Carter didn't look like trouble, not to anyone passing by. 76, maybe 100 pounds, soaking wet. Hands shaking just a bit as she gripped that stack of yellowed land papers she'd carried for decades, proving her family's right to a patch of ground nobody else seemed to care about. Except maybe her, and it turned out, a cop named Travis Holt. He was the kind of guy who looked at an old black woman on the courthouse steps and saw, well, a target, a nuisance, not even a person. He said it out loud, too, his voice echoing off the stone. "What's a filthy old black woman doing here? Disgusting." The crowd froze. Some folks chuckled. Others looked away, pretending it wasn't their problem. Evelyn didn't even flinch. She just straightened up, chin lifted, eyes burning like she'd seen every ugly thing this city could throw her way. "I have an appointment to submit land papers," she said. Calm, dignified. Holt didn't care. He nodded at his partner, Miller Kane, who looked young enough to maybe remember his own grandmother, but not brave enough to do anything except snap those cuffs on Evelyn's wrists. The click was so loud you could feel in your teeth. Now, you'd expect an old woman to break down right there, right? Not Evelyn. She smiled you a real smile. Not bitter, not scared. Just this calm, knowing little grin like she'd seen how this all plays out already. People started whispering. Phones came up. Someone muttered, "Jesus, they're cuffing a grandma." And suddenly the whole mood shifted. The morning rush slowed, folks gathered, a pressure building like a storm about to hit. Holt played it up, leaning in, spitting out his fill for the cameras, until a military SUV screeched to a stop at the curb, lights blazing. Out stepped a man in a white dress uniform, chest full of medals. General Adrian Carter, Evelyn's son. And if you don't think the whole world paused right then, you weren't there. He didn't shout, didn't threaten. Just walked straight up, looked Holt dead in the eyes, and said, "Take off the cuffs. That's my mother." The air turned electric. You could feel hearts pounding. Even Holt, king of swagger, hesitated, his hand shaking as Kane fumbled with the key. The second those cuffs dropped, the crowd erupted cheers, applause, people crying, phones held high, a city waking up. And if you think that was the end, well, you haven't lived here long. Because that one Act One old woman refusing to bend, one son standing tall ripped open something this city tried hard to keep sealed. The video went everywhere. You saw Evelyn smile, chained but dignified, the posters read. Stories poured out online. "I've been pulled out of my car just for being black," one man wrote. "This isn't new," said another. But finally, someone saw. The police suspended Holt and Kane, but we all knew what that meant, just enough time for things to cool off, right? Except this time it didn't. Holt raged in private, swore up and down he'd be back, bragged in backroom bars with his cronies about the powerful people protecting him. Kane, though, something in him broke. That smile haunted him. He tried to warn Holt, "Lay low, you're drawing heat." Holt just laughed. "We're cops. Nobody can touch us." But the city was changing, and none of them saw it. Then, as if the script demanded a twist, things got darker. Holt paid some thugs to send a message smash up Evelyn's home, scare her into silence. Only they went further. Broke down her door, trashed her life's work, left hateful slurs spray-painted across the walls. Evelyn tried to defend herself, but they beat her, left her broken on her own floor. She didn't make it. The cops wrote it up as an accident. No sign of foul play, they said, straight-faced on TV. Adrian came home to find the house destroyed, his mother gone. He fell to his knees, sobbed like a child, then stood up with a promise, "I'll make them pay." Every last one. The neighborhood gathered, full of regret and guilt, wishing they'd stepped in, but too scared to cross Holt. The city went about its business, the machine grinding on. Except Adrian didn't let it go. He started digging, pulling together every witness he could find, Every story of Holt's violence, every dirty deal. People were scared, but that image of Evelyn smiling in chains stirred something deep. Little by little, stories came out. A father beaten in front of his kids, a family's home raided for nothing, a driver framed and jailed until a traffic cam set him free. Then came the breaker retired cop, racked with guilt, handed Adrian a notebook full of names, dates, payoffs, proof that Holt and his buddies were running a racket from top to bottom, shielded by politicians who made speeches about order and justice while taking their own cut. Adrian passed it all to his civil rights lawyer. The fight went public evidence, recordings, videos, testimonies. The system pushed back. Witnesses vanished, got threatened, beaten. Adrian's phone buzzed with threats. Still, he pressed on, working nights with his attorney, pushing every piece of evidence into the light. Finally, the case went to trial. The city held its breath. Holt strutted into the courthouse in full dress blues, smirking for the cameras. He called it all a vendetta, blamed Adrian's grief, insisted he was the real victim. The lawyer fired back bank records, surveillance, the old notebook, even a traffic cam clip of Holt beating a man in broad daylight. The jury watched, the crowd outside chanted, "Justice for Evelyn." Then Adrian played the final card, a hidden recording of Holt giving the order to take care of that old hag. The words hung in the air like a curse. Holt crumbled. His friends in the courtroom looked away, city councilmen wiped sweat from their brows, and federal agents moved in. They started calling names, one officer after another, city officials, all those untouchables, now hauled out in cuffs before live TV cameras and the roaring crowd. The system that had protected them for years began to fall, strand by strand. And you know what? That wasn't the end either. Because justice real, justicito isn't come easy. It takes everything you have, then ask for more. Adrian didn't do it for revenge. He did it because his mother, in her quiet, unbreakable dignity, had shown him that sometimes the smallest Act One smile in the face of power can start an avalanche. And the avalanche didn't stop at Holt. It rolled right through the network, exposing rot from the police station to City Hall. So what do you think? Did justice win, or was it just a crack in the dam? Another battle in a war we'll be fighting for years to come? You tell me. Drop a comment, argue with me. Tell your own story, because justice doesn't live in the courtroom. It starts when we refuse to look away. When one person stands up and says, "No more." Where do you stand?